الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters, today's topic I wanted to talk about, I hope it's good for the whole family, especially the youth and children that are here. Brothers and sisters, the topic is entitled, Us Having Too Much Concern What Other People Think. So another way to say it is pleasing Allah versus pleasing people. So this is an issue that our society is facing, our ummah is facing throughout, our community, throughout the ummah, where, brothers and sisters, sometimes we end up living our lives and taking actions based on what others might think or say about us. So we're not talking about, if we do something wrong, what will people say? This is not what I'm talking about. In fact, that's a good thinking, to be worried about what would people think if we do something wrong. I'm talking about those things that, the opposite, basically, things that, that we do because of the societal pressure or people that we know their pressure, just we're worried about our reputation, okay, which, we're facing pressure maybe to enjoy life, to follow the latest trends, whatever the case is. So Of course, brothers and sisters, this, in many cases, when we do that, it results in us doing things that are not in conformance with the Quran and Sunnah, in fact, against it. And therefore, we run the risk of displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rather than pleasing Him. So, brothers and sisters, just to give you a few examples, the list I could give is like, thousands of lines long, but just to give you an example, that, sometimes we worry about what will people say if we don't have the latest such and such. Maybe whatever we have, okay, although functional, maybe it's kind of like outdated, supposedly outdated, okay, put that in quotes. Because if it's functional and it's working, it cannot be called outdated. But according to the standards of the society, maybe it's not the latest, maybe not up to date, whether that's, some gadget or whether that's some furniture or a house or whatever it is, car, etc., etc. That's one example. Another example, brothers and sisters, is for the kids. Sometimes the kids feel pressure. What will people think if I'm not up to date with knowing about this celebrity or this sports hero, or I'm wearing something that is not the latest trend, it's not the latest fashion? What will the other kids think of me? I'm going to feel shy. I'm going to feel embarrassed in front of them. I'm not going to fit in. I'm not going to have friends. And the list goes on and on. The other thing is, brothers and sisters, another example is that what will people say if I have a simple walima for my child, my daughter or my son? What will people say if it's simple? What if I don't spend a lot of money? Maybe I just spend enough, to have a nice gathering and give some food and have a nice gathering, but it doesn't cost much. What will people say? What if it's not fancy? What will people say that such and such family member, okay? What if the kids say, well, my cousin or my friend had such a huge walima and a huge banquet hall, a huge number of guests, all these extra things that are unnecessary, very lavish. What will people say if I don't do that or our family doesn't do that? We're going to be embarrassed in front of the community and our friends. What will people say if we associate with poor people? If we associate with poor people, what will people say? We invite them over. We even marry them from among poor people. What will people say? Our reputation will be tarnished. You see what I'm getting at, I hope. Brothers and sisters, the list goes on and on. What will people say if I use my Muslim name? What will people say if I look like Muslim? What if people say if I identify myself as Muslim? And as I said, I could go on and on. Brothers and sisters, why do we do this? It's out of fear of maybe being made fun of, okay? It may be out of fear, out of being outcast. It may be out of fear of us being considered lower status than everybody else. So the question is, do we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or do we want to please the people? So that's what we want to take up today. So, brothers and sisters, as I said, sometimes this could make us do things that are not permissible. When we want to have the latest of everything, whatever it is, fill in the blank, okay? We want to have the latest, although we don't need it because we have whatever we have is working, maybe it's a little bit old. Okay, what will that make us do? It'll make us maybe do israf, extravagance, or tabdheed, just so that people see that we have everything, the latest things. We go and spend on things that we don't need, like tabdheed. And israf and tabdheed we know is haram. Just for the sake that people will talk, instead of talking negative, they'll say, oh, look at this family, look at this. They have everything, okay? They're up to date, just for that type of praise. Brothers and sisters, if we have this tendency, okay, we have to analyze ourselves honestly. It's in all of us to some extent. It's in all of us, myself included. So we have to control and minimize this temptation. It's in all of us because we have nafs. All of us have the shaitan whispering to us. So none of us should say that, we're immune to this. But depending on how much of this tendency we have, it indicates a deficiency in our Islamic character. It indicates a weakness in our Islamic character, the more we have it. So we want to strengthen our character. We have to minimize this. The temptation will be there. The shaitan will be whispering to us to do this. Our nafs will be tempting us to do this. So we try to minimize it, inshallah. So what are some solutions? What are some solutions? And for the youth here and the children here as well, same solutions. One solution, which may not, change everybody, One thing is just for me to say, don't care what other people think. Just don't care what other people think. I know it's just a few words, simple words. But I'm saying these simple words because maybe for some, it may have an impact, especially on our youth. Now, our youth may not be following, why am I saying this? The youth's mind is, I have to fit in at school. I don't want to be left out. I don't want my feelings to be hurt. So we can understand their feelings. So maybe you're not understanding it, but please try to memorize these words, inshallah. They'll be beneficial to you later. So once again, just please don't care what people think. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Nothing is going to happen. Actually, the opposite is going to happen. Good is going to happen. So we should care what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks. And what the righteous people think of us, which I'll get to more, inshallah. The other thing, brothers and sisters, about pleasing people, we have to be careful. I'm sure none of us want to have any aspect of nifaq or hypocrisy in us, okay? But this is a sign of hypocrisy, actually, because the scholars have said the main goal of the believer is that he strives to seek the pleasure of Allah, even if it displeases people. This is the quality, the sign of the believer. The scholars said the sign of the munafiq, the hypocrite, is the one who wants to please the people. He strives, or she strives, to please the people, even if it means displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the exact opposite. The exact opposite. What are the benefits, brothers and sisters? We look at the benefits of pleasing people. We think, we're going to be accepted. We're going to be happy because everybody's going to like us. Okay? Which is not necessarily true, by the way, which if I have time, I'll go over, inshallah. But what is the benefit of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love us. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us, that is the true acceptance. The acceptance that we're looking for in the dunya, if we chase the dunya and we do all these things, pleasing people. At the most, it's going to be temporary. Okay, at the most. But the acceptance from Allah will be acceptance in the dunya and the akhirah. Both. We'll get both. What we're looking for. Isn't that what we're looking for? Isn't that what the you children, what you're looking for? We want to feel accepted. You don't want to feel rejected. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when Allah loves a person, He calls Jibreel alayhi salam and says, I love so and so. So love him. So Jibreel alayhi salam loves him. Then he calls out to the people of the heaven. Jibreel says, Allah loves so and so, so love him. So the people in the heaven love him, and he finds acceptance on the earth. This is the formula. This is the correct formula. This is the truth. And it continues. If Allah hates someone, He calls Jibreel alayhi salam and says, I hate so and so, so hate him. So Jibreel hates him. Then Jibreel calls out to the people of the heaven, Allah hates so and so, so hate him. So they hate him, and he is hated on the earth. So this is an important hadith, brothers and sisters. So I hope the youth are following that if you want to be accepted, then we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love us all. Next point is, brothers and sisters, pleasing the people, as I alluded to before earlier, is impossible. It is impossible to please people. You can go pleasing people your whole life. Give that fancy walima. Spend all that money, $50,000 or whatever it is. People spend sometimes. One small mistake, or if you don't keep up with it, they're not going to like you anymore. You're going to be rejected. Okay? I think we know that. I'm saying this for the youth. Okay? So youth and children, pleasing people is impossible. And this is a reminder to all of us, adults included, of course. Because Hassan al-Basri, it was said to him, people come to your gathering to pick on any error that you might make, so that they can make it a reason to gossip about you. So Hassan al-Basri said, do not worry about it, for I thought of the pleasure of being close to Allah, and I can hope for that. I hope for that. I thought of Al-Jannah, and I hope for that. I thought of Hur al-Ain, and I hope for that. I then thought of being safe from people, and I found no way to achieve that. I have no hope in that. When I saw the people are not pleased with their Creator, their Lord, I realized that they will never be pleased with a created thing like themselves. So, brothers and sisters, it's something that is impossible to please people anyway. Whatever, as I said, it is temporary. Also, an important hadith. Rasulullah ﷺ said, whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah by the displeasure of people, meaning he strives to please Allah, even though people are going to be displeased. Okay? Allah will suffice him against the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to protect him. The people will not be able to harm him, what I said before. There's going to be no harm whatsoever. In fact, you will get the protection. Allah will suffice us. Allah will deal with the people. The hadith continues. It says, whoever seeks the pleasure of people by the displeasure of Allah, Allah will leave him to the patronage of the people. وَقَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَى النَّاسِ. That Allah will leave him to the people. He'll leave the affairs to the people. And what are the people going to do for us? What are people going to do for us? Try your best friend, even if you want. Ask them once for some help. Let's say we're in a fallen situation. May Allah protect us all. But let's say we need some help. Even a good friend, ask them for help once, they'll help us. Ask her twice, help us. Ask 3 times, they'll help us. After that, it's going to be difficult. Okay? Maybe they don't want us as a friend anymore. Okay? This is how people are. So we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to look after us. And He'll deal with the people. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, another very important point that from this hadith, want to ask the youth and the children a question. And all of us a question, of course. I'm talking to all of us. Is there any real harm if we displease the people? Is there any real harm? Or is it just in our mind? Or is it just the shaitan telling us? Or is it our nafs telling us? You know, if we act a certain way, let's say at our workplace, something comes up. We're invited to this party or whatever, Christmas, whatever it is. We say, no, we're not going to go. It's against my religion. So we please Allah, but the boss and the co-workers get displeased. They say, this guy is like, it's too much. We're not going to associate with them. Boss might put it in his mind, I'm not going to promote him. Okay? This type of thing. Okay, so let's say the boss even says, okay, in their mind, I'm not going to promote this guy. And we'll promote somebody else, a team player, who goes to the parties, who gets along with everybody, not somebody who looks like he's reserved and in their own world and religious in this day and age. Okay, as an example. There's so many other examples I can give. For the kids, I can give examples, You want to look like a Muslim, but then you lose all your friends, let's say. You only have a few Muslim friends, let's say. Here's another example for the youth. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Based on this hadith, nothing. Nothing. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to look after you. But what's really going to happen? Do we not believe that our rizq is fixed and written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So we're not going to get any more rizq than what is written, but we're not going to get any less either. So if the boss can try whatever he wants, and say, I'm not going to promote this guy, I'm going to fire this guy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It has an effect of how much on our rizq? Zero. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala look after, increase our rizq, inshallah. So there is no harm really. It's the shaitan whispering to us. This is the sign that the shaitan is whispering to us. So what's going to happen, children or youth? The most somebody's going to make fun of you. Is that what's going to happen? Is that a big deal if they make fun of you? Does that reduce your rizq? Does that cause you any harm? Like by them making fun of you, does your arm fall off? Okay? Does your head start rolling? No. Nothing happens really. Just your feelings, which you can overcome, inshallah. Those are just feelings that you have. You may feel hurt. It's up to you if you want to feel hurt. You don't have to feel hurt. You make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you make dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you make salah to Allah. Those feelings will go away, inshallah. It's your choice if you want to continue being hurt when you don't have to. That's your choice. You don't have to. So nothing in reality is going to happen. Final point, brothers and sisters. Once again, I mentioned this at the beginning, but to emphasize, we're concerned about what people think. Sometimes we're concerned what people will say if I don't spend and I don't have this latest, this, etc., etc. The examples I gave you. So we should be concerned, brothers and sisters, what the righteous people will think. Those righteous people, they're not going to harm us or say anything, but they may not think like they'll say, what is this person doing, making israf? Because they know, righteous people, they know, they have knowledge, they know about israf, it's haram. They try to avoid it. Let's say, they see a fellow Muslim committing lots of israf, lots of tabdhir. Aren't we concerned what they will think? Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing everything. And that's what we should be worried about, but we should also be concerned, okay? There's nothing wrong with worried about what people will think of us, what righteous people will think of us. So we should look after our reputation from that point of view, our reputation among righteous people. That's where, we want to be. So let us be careful, brothers and sisters. Sometimes we fall into these traps. Even brothers who are very committed to the deen. I don't want to say too many examples, but because of their family, maybe their kids or whatever it is. Actually, the one that's coming in my mind is a walima example. Okay, father forced basically because their kids want such and such thing for their walima. Okay, it was way out of the bounds. Way out of the bounds. Okay, so this is a practical example. That's what I'm saying. Let us not fall into this trap of the shaitan or our own nafs. May Allah subhanahu. Sorry, I've run out of time, so I can't cover the remaining points, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to these few words. And brothers and sisters, please let us always remember, I know we're making dua for our brothers and sisters of Gaza, Palestine, and all over the world, but the situation, like the word catastrophe, is so light now. What word is there for the situation? So we have to remind each other that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make dua for them, and all our brothers and sisters all over the world who are suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala end their pain and end their suffering. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them whatever they need. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them peace, give them their freedom, and end their persecution and end these calamities that they are facing. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد اللهم صل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين وعلى عبادك الصالحين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور الإيمان اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون عباد الله اذكروا الله يذكركم واستغفروا يغفر لكم وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استوت رأسه. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر، كلا سوف تعلمون، ثم كلا سوف تعلمون، كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم، ثم لترونها عين اليقين، ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر، إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.